Yep. Give me a nod when you're ready.
Like fourth.
Shooter's ready. Stand by.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Gunlock from 3GIQ Podcast. I'm joined here today with Frank Gow, my co-host, and we're just going to kind of be covering some of the matches we just shot this past weekend, and I wanted to talk about it. So I shot the Mountain State 3-Gun Championship. Frank, you shot the Masters Elite at Shadowhawk Defense, which was a replacement to the Virginia State Championship.
Yep.
So, so I guess some considerations I guess I'll go over is, I ultimately, this match, Mountain State was on my calendar for most of the year. I knew it was around the time I was going to be on terminal leave, and I never committed to it initially, mainly because I didn't know what my employment status would be like. Yes, I'm still on terminal leave. Yes, I'm still going to be getting a retirement. I know I'm going to be getting disability, but, there's still that, how much money am I going to be making? Am I going to be working during that time? Or am I still going to be in an unemployed status? And really what drove me to end up showing to the matches, Jay Schaff and JK hit me up, hey, you still going to the match? Granted, part of the reasons why they were asking is, weather, because it was supposed to be crap weather. But I was like, yeah, I'm still gonna go out. Me and Jay Schaff, we ended up splitting a room together, and it was a great time, and ultimately what brings me out there is people. If I know I'm going to be surrounded by good people, then I'm going to make the attempt to go. And to speak on that, the day I was packing everything up to leave, I received a call, and I've been applying to jobs, and I received a call, and they made an offer, and so I accepted. So I am no longer an unemployed veteran. So for all of you guys who are planning on getting out, and are nervous, like, I'll tell you, yes, was I nervous? Absolutely. Like, this is my livelihood. This is my family. I want to be able to support them. I want to be able to provide for them. And, at the end of the day, I knew I had to leave the Marine Corps at some point. I made that decision. But I made it my priority, the last year that I was in, to really just focus on what's coming next. And, I have 55 days left of terminal. I start my new job this coming Monday, and I'm going to be double dipping for a while. And then after that, I'm going to be able to, collect a retirement or collect disability. So for those of you who are on the fence, or, are nervous about the process, all I could say is embrace that process. And if you need any support, if you need any help, reach out to me. I'll give you kind of a step-by-step example of what I did and how I kind of strategized my exit strategy. And, I have an email already typed up that I could send out to you, with all the organizations that helped me out. And I have copies of my resume that, you could ultimately use to help out in the process. But
just if I could step in, it was just like a week ago that you were venting to me that companies weren't getting back to you and that like things didn't really seem to be like panning out. And I just like to point out that a week afterwards, like you now have a job offer in hand. You start next week. And also one of the companies that you thought it wasn't going to pan out with has an interview scheduled with you. So even when I mean there's gonna be a lot of ups and downs, I would say for you, like a lot more downs than ups. It's a question of time and persistence. And eventually if you keep putting yourself out there, things are gonna come your way. It just that might take a while. It has taken a while for you, Matt, and I'm happy to see that it's finally paying off.
No, I appreciate it. I'm excited, new beginnings, I guess you can say. And I'm still going to be doing something I love. I'm still going to be, getting out there and shooting. Still going to be very much part of the community that has embraced me. So it's exciting.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. Going back to your decision to attend Mountain State, you mentioned your friends were going to be out there. Would you say that those individuals, those personalities, were the deciding factor for you deciding to go and attend that match?
Yes. And I'll reiterate. So, Jay Shaw, uh, who I met him last year at this match, and I shot with him at Duskin match and other matches. J.K. Khan, who for the listeners,
Yeah, the Dustin episode.
yeah, he was on the Duskin episode. And then Nick Collier, he's somebody that, hasn't been mentioned, but, he's an individual who I've known for about 6 years now. I met him while shooting at Blue Ridge Three Gun Championship, and he's just an all-around great individual, good person, good friend. He came out to my retirement ceremony. He drove 12 hours from Kentucky just to come out to my retirement ceremony. So that shows the kind of person he is and how much he values friendship. I felt selfish just asking him to come out. And he was like, I wouldn't have done it for a better person. Like, you are one of those dudes who, you gave me the time of day. You sat down and talked with me at Blue Ridge. It's like, and we created a bond, and he's somebody I just bullshit with every now and again, back and forth, and he's just a good dude. And so it's like those three individuals right there kind of solidified my reasons to go out to Mountain State. So yeah, it's really, at the end of the day, you want to surround yourself with good people, and you want to be at a match with good people. And I've had, 4.5 year run with the Marine Corps shooting team, who are all awesome people. And I got to surround myself with good people while going to those matches and build new relationships. And now I'm going to have that opportunity to do that on my own.
Yeah, I would say that in addition to spending time in good company, you're also familiar with those individuals' work ethic. So
Hmm.
you know how they are. Like, for example, when me and Cardi went out this last weekend, we were just passing off the time in between the two of us because we both know we're competent ROs. And we also we knew that we had to keep on the squad because it was wet and miserable, and people are likely to slow down in those kinds of conditions. But I would also say on the other side, like it can be refreshing to go to a local match and squad with a new group of people. I've had a lot of fun doing that. I've met a lot of great people that way. When I went to Maryland State, I didn't know anybody in my squad, and that was the team Hold My Beer, the guys from like Jersey and New York. Um, I think that's Matt Hempel's team. It was a really great time there. So yeah, I mean it's a great social atmosphere. And you, there
Yeah,
have there have been some sour experiences with some squads, but I'd say the positives vastly outweigh the negatives for me.
I'll agree. Like, I remember first coming into the sport, over 8 years ago, back in 2014, going to a match, putting it all out there, not knowing a single person. And I still talk to those people to this day, like Mike Oberman, for individuals who are into three gun and have been doing it for a while. Like, everybody knows who Mike Oberman is. He doesn't go out and compete or really help. He calls himself a sporting man now. But he's like the godfather of three gun. He's been doing it, He had done it for over 30 years. And, you know, he really helped, introduce me to a lot of people within this sport. And like you said, you have bad experiences with people, but the good experiences vastly outweigh those negative experiences. And, you know, I enjoy meeting new people. So if you can get on a squad with some people but others you don't, at the end of the day, you're gonna have a good experience.
Yeah. And having somebody is, if you do end up on a bad squad, it can be helpful. For example, I remember there was one weekend where Ben and I went up to Sir Walter, and our squad was like, I don't know. At some point, Ben would just like sit out loud. It's like, did everyone get diagnosed with colon cancer this morning? Because you like you guys are shooting on a Saturday. What? Nobody should have this attitude. So this the reflective sarcasm that Ben and I share sometimes it has helped me out with a few of those less desirable squads. But want to go back.
I would say that's because USPSA is filled with FUDs. I'm kidding.
FUDs, type 2 diabetics who don't want to help paste. So yeah.
You get it anywhere you go.
If you find good squad mates, you stay with them.
Yeah.
You stay with those guys like Cardi, Nelson, Ben, Lynn Tran from down there. He's a Green Beret in like the Fayetteville area. Like those guys have good work ethics, and I will seek to like work with those guys or shoot with those guys whenever I can. But like, yes, I would say the clientele for USPSA tends to have that issue. But want to go back to Mountain State. So talked about the people he shot with. Can you just talk about the style of match that it was?
So it's not one of those complex matches. It was more just like simple stage plans, nothing complex, just turn and burn for the most part. And one thing I'll say about that is it's really fun just to put it all out there and go as fast as you can sometimes. But what I will say about those stages, even though they're not complex in nature, you make one mistake, now you are behind because everybody else is going to be doing the same thing. And if they don't make a mistake, well, you're behind them now. So it's really fun to push yourself as hard as you can in a straightforward stage, but you make a mistake, you're going to be paying for that mistake. And, penalties hurt. They really do hurt. So that's one of the things that draws me to the match. I don't have to really think too hard. I could just go out there and have fun.
Yeah, those stages can be refreshing. I would say that, and correct me if you have a different interpretation, but the stages that they usually put out the Mick are kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
Everyone more or less has to run those the same way, but then that magnifies, like you said, the mistakes, and not just like penalties like no shoots and mics. I'm saying things like bobbled reloads, falling out of position, errant footwork. Those are also like those don't really show up. They show up on your final score in terms of your raw time, but going back, like those are often the culprits that are robbing you of a second or two, dragging down your hit factor. And like, yeah, Mick McGee's this last year, I say there's only one stage in which there was some kind of choice to it. Everything else was very, very straightforward. So you just had to be efficient and get your hits there.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the good things I did, I screwed up on a portion of the shotgun, but whenever I transitioned over the pistol, I knew I had to be fast, but I had to be deliberate. And I was able to go 1-for-1 on a double plate rack at a pretty decent speed. But I knew that I had to give it a certain level of focus, and I couldn't screw that up, or the stage would have just been a wash.
Yeah, you touched upon something important, and that's that if something goes wrong, it's in your best. You're not going to make up time and hits in the rest of the stage, most likely. That's when you need to just like shoot clean points and minimize instead of pushing and trying to like salvage that stage. really it should be a more conservative approach where you're limiting the amount of points that you could lose so that you still like retain some percentage of the overall stage points. Would you say that's accurate?
That's absolutely accurate. And like the way you make up for it later on is by properly planning your future stages and making sure everything else is clean. And it's up to you to really achieve that. You could try and go as fast as you can, but being fast doesn't necessarily mean being clean.
No, absolutely not. And sometimes you're pushing beyond your capabilities, which is another discussion. You mentioned it shortly, but you said shotgun wasn't as strong as your rifle and pistol for this stage or for this match.
Correct. I'll be honest. I haven't shot my shotgun. I haven't shot a 3-gun match since June, and I haven't touched my shotgun since June. I didn't even take it out to practice reloads or anything. I wasn't really going out there to try and win uh, or finish as high as I wanted. You know, when you get out there, yeah, you're like, oh, I want to push myself, but you know, I also understood I just wanted to go out there and have a good time. So being a top finisher wasn't necessarily in my game plan. Going out there shooting clean and shooting good was in my game plan, and I didn't shoot as clean as I wanted to, but you know, third year in a row, I'm 8th place at this match, so you know, I I'm okay. You know, I'm okay with that finish.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they give out top 3 military. I got edged out by JK Khan for that plaque by like 0.5%, if that. And it's just like, son of a bitch. But, you know, it is what it is. I had a good time. That's really all that matters. No plaque's going to be able to replace having a good time.
Yeah. And I would caution against like tying your enjoyment of a match to whatever trinkets they happen to have. It's nice. It's nice to have stuff for your wall, but what's more important is that you're cognizant of like what's happening with your marksmanship and your performance, and that you're having a good time with your buddies. Cardi and I got into the truck at the end of the match, and we're like, we're fucking soaked, we're hungry, like we're tired, we just want to go home. But both him and I were like, that was an awesome match. It was a good squad. We really both enjoyed the. We do not regret coming out here, even though we left the range at like 6 p.m.
And something else I'll mention, like I said, I haven't shot a 3-gun match since June. The last match I shot was the tactical games team event. So like my rifle, like I only have one competition rifle that I use. So I took my 3-gun break off, which is an Ultradyne Apollo Max, and that thing is awesome. I took that off and I put a birdcage on for the tactical games. And, you know, the week prior to the Mounted State match, I was like, I'm not going to take it off because that's just going to force me to go out to the range, reconfirm zeros, all this. I was like, I have other priorities right now, you know, job interviews, stuff like that. And so I left it on there. And I will say, I noticed the fucking difference. I could still go fast, but I also noticed that there was more recoil impulse. And I saw my sights jumping, and I was taking shots that I could normally hit and missing because I was trying to go as fast as I would in 3-gun. So, you know, some things really do matter. You know, you question, does this thing really make a difference? And at the end of the day, yes, it does. Like if it's something you're used to shooting at in a certain type of match, it's going to make a difference. And I've gone over a year using that break.
Yeah, definitely, definitely makes a difference there. Did you run into any issues with like keeping your guns clean during the match?
Um, Magazines specifically, yeah. But a good magazine brush, taking that out and wiping your magazines out between stages, that really helps. Um, I would say keeping your guns lubed up. I know we're going to talk about weather more. It was cold, it was rainy. Keeping You don't have to do a deep dive clean. You don't want to do that in the middle of a match, but keeping them properly lubed is ultimately going to help you out at the end of the day because guns can't really run well without the lube.
Yeah, and my open gun was dry by the end of the day, and I was probably responsible for my malfunctions on the last 4 to 5 stages, if I'm going to be honest. And the point of magazines is really good, especially so depending on the range, right? The ground on the range may be sand, dirt, grass, or gravel, but either way, I would advise cleaning a magazine every time that it hits the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Like take all the rounds out of it. Like you said, use a mag brush. Something that Cardi taught me is you use like a rag that has like some like just like
Microfiber.
microfiber, but also like you got some gun oil and like kind of like carbon residue on it, and then just
Mm-hmm.
like you're adding like a bit of a, I guess, a patina to the outside, like in terms of just keeping the inside of the outside at least a little bit, not like slippery wet, but at least a little bit lubricated. Um, so that's something that I started doing during the carry optics season. That helps because I was having issues with the magazines there. So yeah, those are just some of the factors. But we've talked about weather a lot. What are some of the things? And we'll break it up into, we'll talk about clothing first. We'll talk about how you take care of your guns. And then we'll talk about just like overall approach mentally to shooting in adverse conditions. So you know that the weather is going to be trashed for an upcoming match. What do you do in terms of like layers and clothing?
So it was cold out there. It was like 45 degrees. I wouldn't necessarily consider that cold. That's still t-shirt weather to me, but add the effect of the rain.
And the wind.
Okay, it and the wind, it's gonna be cold. So I always keep a rain jacket in my truck at all times, so I don't forget it because I've been in those positions where I didn't have a rain jacket. And I was screwed. I still don't like a lot of people at this match were shooting with the rain jacket still on. I don't like doing that. I'd rather just take the jacket off because I'm not used to training with it. Take it off, get wet for a little bit while I'm running my stage for that 60 seconds to 120 seconds, however long I'm on the stage. It's not that big of a deal to me, wearing, thicker socks. Uh, you know, if you know it's going to rain, you know, slow it down just a tad bit. There's no reason to be unsafe. And I'll be honest, I fell twice during this match. I thought I was slowing down, but I hit slick ground. One of the times, yeah, my gun was in my hand, my pistol, but you know, I I fell and kept that gun straight and pointed down range and finger off the trigger. You know,
Yeah.
it's a matter of even in those adverse conditions, you still have to be cognizant of what you're doing and you still have to, be safe.
Yeah, I saw a video from IPSC Nationals where a dude slips and he like flagged the entire RO crew with his pistol, and he had the audacity to like post on Instagram and be like, "Was this a DQ?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was a DQ. You flagged the parking lot. You flagged your like country of origin, bro. Like, there's no way
Holy
it wouldn't."
shit.
It's pretty bad. Like, I was in legitimate fear, and that like the 180 is it's a game, it's a gameism, but it's the only way that we can enjoy the sport of practical shooting in a safe and
Hmm.
controlled manner. If you do that away with that, like some people already shaky with the 180. If you do away with that, then shit's just going to get crazy. But you brought up some really good points. First is aggression. So when you start off the day on a match with really bad weather, it's maybe not as bad. But say like 5 stages in, a bunch of other squads have come in and like torn up that. Say for example, it's a base stage. You can kind of tell from like the which parts of the stage are torn up with like footprints and like which are muddier, where people are executing like they're executing like turns and like pivots and that kind of stuff. and that usually the footing there tends to be a little more treacherous. So just something to pay attention to. You and I talked about tread on your shoes. That's not really an issue. Well, so my Solomons are falling apart. I actually, like, a new pair just got delivered as we're recording this podcast. But I let those go a little too long than what I was supposed to, and now that it's, terrible winter weather, I owe it to myself to make sure that I have a good pair of shoes, especially with my history of ankle injuries. Um,
My Solomons are 2 years old and they have zero tread on the bottom of them, which led to me falling twice on the first day, and I know we were going to talk about this, but I had my boots, my Marine Corps issued boots that since I cleaned out my office, I didn't clean, I left everything in the truck, including my boots. And I was just like, thank God I didn't take those out, because I actually looked at them before I left. I was like, I'll just leave them in there. Who cares? Probably, I'll take them out whenever I get home. Thank God I had those boots, because I put them on the second day because I knew the tread on those would be a lot better than the Solomons.
yeah,
I wasn't used to shooting in them, but
it's better than having two slip and slides on your feet.
yeah.
But yeah, so something else that I have a pair of waterproof socks, and some people aren't a fan of them because there's a potential to get moisture trapped on the inside of the sock, but those kept me pretty insulated all day. So even with the holes in my Solomons, those are still pretty good. The next thing I want to talk about is protecting your electronics, right? So the range equipment, like tablet and the timer, throw a plastic bag over them. What I did with my open gun was I just had a plastic bag from Green Top, and every time I wasn't shooting, I just put that thing over. Double Alpha and some other shooting companies, they make covers specifically for a gun that you can zip up and stuff. Those are great. If you don't have those, just use a plastic bag.
You mentioned something that I want to kind of throw a shout out to JK. So our second stage of the match, it was already raining. It was raining the entire weekend. Well, the RO, JK just got done. The RO read off the time, and he said something like 53 seconds. And I wasn't there. I didn't hear it, but I was kind of listening as I was refilling magazines and all that. I was like, oh, that sounds like a really good run. And so me and Jay Schaff were talking. I was like, and we asked JK, hey, would you finish that in? And he was like, oh, 53 seconds. And I was just like, there's no way that could have been 53 seconds. And so, and it's no fault to the RO. He was just reading off of what was on the timer, but I was like, all right, so if I got 85 seconds or however long it was, I think it was 85. I was like, there's no way JK got 53 seconds. Like, JK's fast. Or it was 76 seconds. I think I finished that stage on. But I was like, there's no way. I was like, he would have been hitting 50 seconds as he was coming around, running into the other bay. And so JK took a video, and we looked at it, and it was like, see, 53 seconds, he was running out to the other bay. And, he finished in realistically, he finished in about 65. I don't remember the final time, but we reviewed the video, and he went to the RO. He didn't have to, but he has integrity and he has good moral character. And he went to the RO and said, hey, I think the time you guys put in for me is wrong. You guys said it was 53. Here on my video, it's showing this second. And so he went and got it fixed. That's something he didn't necessarily have to do, but because he has integrity, he did it. So if you're an RO, it kind of comes down to paying attention to what the timer is doing and making sure the timer, if it's in a plastic bag, is in an area to where it's going to still pick up the final shot.
Yeah, and that becomes a problem, not so much in 3-gun where your rifle has a comp on it, and usually people aren't running super soft rounds out of the pistol, but if people are shooting subminor stuff out of a PCC, it's really freaking quiet, and you have to get the timer right up to their rifle. And the
Mhm.
last thing anybody wants in a match that's being like rained out is for a reshoot.
Yep.
So, a couple of thoughts there. One was that, I ran a shooter. He finished in like 20 seconds. But then when I went to read off the time, it was in the 40s. So I just went back into splits. Like, I was like, what's the last time? Okay, it's this. Shooter, are you okay with this? This is what I got. I'm not going to give you 40 seconds, give you 20 seconds. That's where you finished. And he was okay with it. Another thing I do as an RO is like, as I'm following the shooter, sometimes I tilt the timer towards myself and just make sure it's picking up the shots.
Mhm.
'Cause when it's raining, sometimes the timer dies, all that kind of stuff. If it does, then there's no real way for you to continue that course of fire. You kind of got to stop the shooter because of the, equipment malfunction. So just some thoughts. ROing is an important part of the sport. I try to do it a lot just because partly it's fun to watch shooters and what they're working through on a particular stage, but also like you need people like that on your squad in order to get people going. But yeah, absolutely good points. Um, Going back to the discussion about like protecting your optics, some of the things I've seen. So I put a plastic bag over the gun. Um, some guys, like when they're doing their make ready, will put a ping pong ball on the back of their pistol optic. And when they draw, that ping pong ball just falls off and it prevents water from like accumulating on the inside of the lens. I've seen some other guys use Rain X on their lenses. I have never tried that myself, but protecting your electronics is important, especially when there's rain. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, rain and electronics, they just don't mix. That tablet that we had in our squad was like spazzing out by the end of it. It was just like I had to go around with an umbrella just to protect it.
Yeah,
So
what I do, like I don't have pistol or shotgun optics, but for my rifle optic, a quick, easy fix. Some people use a sock or, a scope sock or whatever they put, scope cover. What I do, I don't have one for my scope, so I just take the cardboard box that my shotgun shells are in and just stick it right over the ocular lens. And as soon as I pick my rifle off, one hand's going to the pistol grip, the other hand's going to that box, ripping it off, and then just go right into shooting. That way, I don't have rain that's accumulating or drops that are on the ocular lens.
yeah. Um, Probably a good idea in your range bag. Just kind of like what Matt was talking about in terms of having a rain jacket in his truck. In your range bag, just having a few like Ziploc or plastic bags, zip ties, that kind of thing is usually a good idea just in case this kind of stuff happens.
Or even a rag,
Yeah.
having that rag there. That way you can wipe stuff done, a microfiber cloth after you get done with the stage so you can wipe stuff off and then throw your guns in your truck. Uh, you know, it's a real thing, for those that have shot in the rain, it's not fun. So just it's gonna help you out in the long run if you have the necessary stuff with you to fix a situation.
Yeah. Which leads into the last point. It's not fun shooting in the rain, but it's equally as important that you keep a good attitude about yourself. Like you chose to be out there, you're still trying to get training value, even despite the conditions. Like I would say that the Shadowhawk Elite match was still like a really great time. Sounds like you had a great time at Mountain State as well. So just like staying positive and making the most of the situation. You can't control the weather. Like you just can't.
Yeah, no, and like I'll say like my squad, I had a great squad at Mountain State, and Jay and I talked at the end of the match, and we were like, not one person was bitching about the weather. And some people can be like, well, that's normal. Well, I come from the world of the Marine Corps where, it's a world of people just bitching, and if you're not bitching, you're not happy. But at a match, it's the last place you really want to be bitching, like you said, Frank. You chose to be there. So either you be there and you be in a good attitude or just don't go at all because nobody wants to deal with somebody that has a negative attitude. And because at the end of the day, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your performance by having those I'll use a woke term, negative vibes. Having negative vibes is not gonna be good for you, and people are gonna remember. They're just gonna think of you as this guy bitches all the time. I don't want to squad with him.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of the outcast. So you stay positive. Like, you are out there to have a good time. I often say, be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And that is such a Marine term to say, but it's so true. You're out there, just have a good time. You'll learn more about yourself and what you're capable of by being in those situations.
Yeah, completely agree. Talk about Shadowhawk for a little bit before we wrap
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
So this was my second match running with the open gun. Open gun was smithed by Ben Faust. It ran great. Problem was the issue was with me not keeping it lubed up. Still learning how to run it aggressively and like sight confirmation and all that stuff, but it was a really good time. I laid down some really fast stages, and some other stages I just had like inexplicable mics. The style of the match was like it was pretty punishing. So they put a USPSA target on a swinger, and they put hard cover everywhere except for the A zone in the chest. And one of our shooters actually like activated it, and it was so wet that the entire target just yeeted off the swinger. And we like I didn't catch it. I was ROing him until the final. He like goes to aim in, and he just like kind of looks at me. I was like, stop. And just like when we got to the cardboard target, it was just a soggy mess. Which, if I had one criticism of the match, it's that the fact that like there were some other absurd targets where they put hard cover everywhere except for the A zone and the head box. So combined with like the rain and how many people were shooting that headshot area, it was just like it was mincemeat by the end of the day. Like you couldn't even paste it. It was just like a cardboard mess.
Yeah,
So
that makes me think of something real quick. I'm sorry if I interrupted, but it's like, I get paper targets are expensive, and the waterproof paper targets are typically 3 times the amount of money. But, I would say if there's a match going on, I would say it'd be wise to, hey, why don't we have an allotment of waterproof paper targets in the event that it does rain? Like, you're gonna have, like, most matches have stockpiles. I don't know. But why not have an allocation for a match, in the event that it does rain?
yeah, so the match staff, they were really good. They did have a replacement for the swinger target. We were able to get that replaced. The headshot target was we were the last squad, and it was like 6 p.m. at that point. Everyone was just like, there's no point in replacing this thing. We're just gonna keep running it, you know?
Mhm.
So, and also I would say like I think from the match director perspective, you're putting on a match because it's what you love and you're passionate about it, but also you're hoping to like at least get some funds for your club. 85% of the people are supposed to shoot that match like backed out of it. So they were probably already looking at like possibly breaking even. I'm not making I think they they planned for it. I think the weather was one thing, it kind of like tipped the scales a little bit, but also like I would take that weather into account and probably take out some of those like more technical targets, because the smaller of a zone that you present to the shooter, the more it's just going to get destroyed, and the more often you are going to have to replace that target. It's also going to slow down the match. So that was my takeaway from it.
Yeah. So, I have to ask, like, how was shooting open? Like, being the first time, like, was it everything you dreamed of with an open gun?
Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid fun. I had to double up on Ear Pro because if you're just wearing earmuffs, like the concussive blast in your face all the time is just not fun. But yeah, there's some like I laid down some like really fast times on some of the stages. I looked at the hit factor. I'm like, this is cheating. It's so stupid. Like there's some moments just like pure joy where you're just like you're blasting all the targets, and it's just like it's such a rush, because you're shooting the stage. The gun is not holding you back. Your vision, your stage planning, your instincts are the one things that are holding you back. So like it really like it's people call it the F1 racing. of the gun world, and that's exactly what it feels like. It's ludicrously fun and also ludicrously expensive.
Hmm.
You don't think about that when you're sending it though.
Yeah, I don't know. One of these days, maybe I'll get an open gun. Well, if for me, because I don't do USPSA, I'd have to get an open pistol and an open shotgun. And
Yeah.
if I'm gonna get an open shotgun, I'm gonna go straight to like Lan and Mike Whitesides and get a dissident because you can't. I want the best,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
those open shotguns are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like they're a work of art.
They are. And that's what draws people to it. Like the pure speed. There's still marksmanship. Like you still have to be a good shooter. I think, there is a subset of like shooters that perhaps are getting older or like don't have those fundamentals and they rely on open equipment in order to like make up for those lack of fundamentals. But if you put those guns in a good shooter's hands, like you're really seeing like what you are capable of, at least at your unbound potential, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah,
I'll one of these days I'll switch, but right now I'm still having fun with TAC Ops.
yeah. No, I think everyone like wants to try it. I just think there's part of them that's like if they indulge it, they're going to be like, oh God, son of a bitch, I want one of these now. Like, and it's just more money on what's already a very expensive sport.
Yep.
Yeah, going back to the match, like the style, like shout out to Shadowhawk. Like, thank you guys for persisting and keeping that match open, even though like most of the shooters backed out of it. It was still like a lot of fun, and those were really good stages. I just some of the targets were kind of on the insane side. There were these IPSC targets that were basically like they put like black tape that made it look like a tic-tac-toe. So I don't know. It was kind of like a slot machine target. Like you're blasting two at it. Somehow Cardenas managed to hit two in the mic, like only in the black tape. Like couldn't have done it if you tried, but somehow like he just like blasted two and they both ended up in the mic. I got a picture of it, just ludicrous kind of stuff like that. Um, but yeah, just want to give a shout out to like some of the guys that showed up. So Andrew Dow, who is stationed over in Fort Meade, Seth Volheim, who's 2112 with the team. Always love seeing Marines come out and shoot. I think you guys learned a lot, and I hope you guys continue to like come out and shoot matches. It was great being able to squad with you guys and coach you guys along. And Team Capsa is like some of the Korean shooters that are in the area. Never squatted with them before. That was a great time as well. And I already thanked Shot at Hawk Defense, but overall, like really great experience. Sorry, one last thing. Going back to the gear conversation that we are having, always have dry clothes in your car for the end of the match. It feels so good. Like I brought a couple towels for me and Cardi, and just like put through one of them. Was like, dude, just like towel off, like get all that crap off. Like I change into a new shirt. I take off my wet socks and shoes. I get into flip flops. And honestly, like I'm not gonna like change out everything else, but just the fact that like you have something dry to put on while you're in your car leaving the range makes it so that much better. Like it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I gotta remember that because I just drove home 4.5 hours with what I had on
Yeah.
and wet boots. Whatever.
Yeah. It like I I would say that the most guys have like Crocs that they switch into at the end of the match, and yeah, I'm all about it. Like I'm not a fan of Crocs or whatnot, but like those feel really nice after you've been sitting in waterlogged shoes for the entire day.
Oh, I gotta go back to something. Facilitating my own ammo.
Oh
It's a real thing.
yeah,
Yeah. So it was nice to be shooting on the Marine Corps dime. But the fact of the matter is that I shot 3 gun before coming to the team, so I was kind of aware of, hey, I'm gonna have to provide my own ammo now if I want to keep shooting. And so I'm all good with it. Is it expensive? Sure it is, but you know, it's fun. It's what I want to do. It's what I want to spend my money on. But it is a real thing. Like what I've been doing today and yesterday is processing all my brass to reload all my 9 mil. Tomorrow I'm going to start working on all my 5.56. That way I can keep shooting. So it's real. It can get expensive. But at the end of the day, I'm hooked.
Yeah, same here, obviously. But yeah, no, it's just another layer of things. It is manageable. It's just reloading. I find reloading fun. I just have to do it in segments. Like
Yeah.
I can't do it in bulk, otherwise I'll get burnt out on it.
Yeah. Like I know whenever we get done here recording, I'm probably gonna go back down to the garage and finish all my case prep and do some load development for 9 mil. I already have a load more or less figured out, but I just wanted to reconfirm. Take it out into the backyard, shoot a few rounds, see how it feels, and then go from there. Test it in both my pistols to make sure it's grouping well in both 9 mils.
Nice. Last shout out from us is to the Marine Corps shooting team themselves, just starting to put out some videos in preparation for MIC season. Very good production quality and editing. And really the intent from what I'm seeing is that they want to push information out proactively to offset the amount of like coaching and corrections they have to make at the actual MIC itself. I think it's a step in the right direction. It's on public, it's just on Instagram. Anyone can get to it. So go on and check out those videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that first video that Cardenas put out, that was really well done. I always still look to see what they're posting. I'm passionate about their direction, where they're going, and I can't wait for the MIC season just because that's like everybody on the team loves to compete, but what they love to do more is instruct people and teach them what they're passionate about. And this is just another way of them putting really good information out there. So everybody just go out, go look at the USMC shooting team, look at what they're posting, look at their stories, watch their videos, and follow them.
Yep. Yeah, couldn't say enough good things about what they're putting out. But I think that wraps it up for these matches. Appreciate you guys listening and let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, and I think the next match I have that I'm planning on going to, and you're the one who kind of told me about it, is there's a match up in Thurmont, Maryland.
Yeah.
So we're gonna probably do that 2-gun match together. It'll be a good time. Like I just want to keep my skills up.
Yeah, you escaped fun employment, so it's
Yeah.
time to enjoy yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, so Matt talked about Thurmont, I think that's in November. Some friends coming up from North Carolina. I'm shooting QSC this weekend, and then the following weekend, the team's going out to Shadowhawk again because there's a nighttime match going out there. So we're going to be shooting rifle and pistol under nods. And it's going to be a good time. So might talk about that in some future episodes.
Yeah, and I am right now planning on it. The Zoo City Fall Brawl, if my schedule allows it, I will be going to that match. We did the episode on the Zoo City Fall Brawl. It's a good time. If you are interested in doing it and haven't registered yet, there's 5 spots left in the match. I would say sign up, go. For those of you who don't know the Zoo City crew and Jason Byerly and the style of matches that they put together, it's a good time. Especially like if you're on the East Coast, you need to make this match. You will not be disappointed.
Nice. Well, all right, man. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah. So we hope you have a good one. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, please reach out. We're more than happy to answer. Talk to you later.